Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm Dbt04 here, and Merry Christmas to the Abyss. Today we are setting forth into set 4. The Purelight meta is here. But everyone's really so interested about all those new cross rights and whatnot. The death of the persona right mechanic. But, let's talk about something that is not going to be well covered, which is going to be PBD. PBD as a whole of this deck has really changed. Like in set 2, in its conception, to set 3, like there were many different ways to build it, people arguing about which is the best. There's still a lot of contention over which is the best, but there is something that they agree on, and that is that PBD has actually got a fair share of different cards this set. So it's really interesting to see. Like there is a few new directions that they want to bring the PBD deck in, as well as supporting older, more traditional ways of playing, just like magic numbers and whatnot. But at the same time, they're also kind of straying away from the problematic design PBD has had, with obvious stuff such as over reliance on the blaster engine. They're really trying to cut down on that. They also, are giving us more impactful ways to build boards rather than last time where it was just, alright, we pray to Charon. So yeah, I'm just really glad that the PBD deck has actually gotten decent support, or at least support that doesn't make us question our sanity playing this deck. Is PBD still the worst deck format? No. Is this deck gonna be meta? No. The answer is Purelight. So I'm just really glad to cover this on time, because given I was sick and whatnot, I was not supposed to cover this, but I do look forward to doing some set 4 decks before I dive back into VCall, so do look out for that, especially because I've been on a very long hiatus. So yeah, it's time to get back to some content. So PBD as a deck has really not changed in terms of the way it plays, which is just sacking your rear guards, gaining advantage, gaining magic numbers, beating down, and trying to win. Now this deck does have a few more financial options in terms of their R triggers and the RPG, but they are all for very good reasons. If you still want to play them though, I say go ahead, but for me, I just kind of feel that there's really no point. That out of the way, let's actually start with the right deck. So for the right deck, what we have right now is Fubao as our starter. We play Blaster Javelin as our grade 1. Our grade 2 is the iconic Blaster Dark. Our grade 3 is Phantom Blaster Dragon. So let's get right into it. Fubao is our basic D starter. They all have the same skill. When you ride upon, if you're going second, you draw. Okay, and it has a really nice art and flavor text. Cool. Our grade 1 is Blaster Javelin. Blaster Javelin has 2 skills, which is when rolled upon by Blaster Dark, you may superior call the top card of your deck in the rest position. Now you need to time this carefully, because you want to make sure you get this in conjunction with Blaster Darks on place so that you actually get to use them. If not, you may end up missing the timing if you resolve it wrongly, and then you just don't get that. But most of the time you should have no problem, as long as you understand what it does. Second skill is if you have a Blaster Vanguard, he gains 2k. So it's not bad. It's a 10k attacker, 10k booster. I'm not sure whether you really want to play this in your main deck anymore. Like it used to be viable. It's still okay, but for me, I will show you the options I've taken, and it's moving away from Blaster Javelin. He has certainly served his time with me. Next up, we have Blaster Dark. Yes, everyone's iconic card is back. When placed on the Vanguard Circle, count +1, choose one of your own rear guards and retire it. Choose one of your opponent's rear guards and retire it. This unit gains drive +1. You may be wondering, what? On place, retire one of my own? Where is it going to come from? It comes from Blaster Javelin, because when you on place, you get to superior call the top card of it as rest. So yeah, that's the card you're usually sacking more rather than not. Although there is a catch, if you superior call an order with the effect of Blaster Javelin, you straight up miss that timing, and you could also end up forfeiting on Blaster Dark's ability for the on place. So that is why we do not play orders in this deck, so just keep that in mind. Of course, this Blaster Dark skill can be used on both V or R, so that's pretty cool. But he gets even more utility as a rear guard, which is if a rear guard has been retired this turn, this unit gains 5. So he's a 15k beater for free. That's really not bad. Unlike Blaster Javelin, where the number can be put into question about 10k booster and beater, 15k I would say is much more solid in my opinion. It does still have utility as a rear guard in terms of the actual poke, which is why I'm actually quite willing to keep playing Blaster Dark even in my main deck at 4. There are people who just don't want or don't like to play the blaster cards anymore in the main deck. It's just not logical to them. They rather max out on the other options. But to me, I still feel that having a 15k body sitting around your deck for free is still pretty worth the space, and it also does have the spot removal if you really need to use it. So I think it's still fine. And of course, our last card is Phantom Blaster Dragon. When placed on the Vanguard Circle, you may simply call a card with Blaster in its name from your soul. This obviously includes previous copies of Blaster Dart, Blaster Javelin, and Phantom Blaster Dragon. No, you cannot call Fubar. So it's just a cool on place, you get +1. You kind of 2-box on your first grade 3 turn because you get to choose a grade 1 with boost, a grade 2 with that on place and the 15k body, or you can just simply call a grade 3 if this is your persona, right? But then again, here comes the most obvious drawback. If you 2-box something, you cannot use that option again because we just don't have any form of moving into soul right now unless you soul charge another blaster. In that case, 1, why are you playing soul charge in this deck? 2, why are you playing more blasters in this deck? So it's really just something you can think about and consider. Second skill is the most iconic skill. You counterblast 1, retire 3 of your own rear guards, choose 2 of your opponent's rear guards and retire it. This unit gains +10k and a crit. Alright, very faithful. Is it relevant? I say it works for a few turns, but you definitely, in a long game, are going to struggle. Which is really why PBD has been regarded as the worst deck in format. I would say, as of now, we have a lot more better ways to cope with this insane downside. Of course, the best thing is to straight up just give us PBO, you know. But we still have to wait many more months for that, so let's just work with what we have. And this deck is really tilted more around bringing out the best of this Blaster Right deck, as well as what we can actually do with the rest of our cards in terms of, you know, we're big put back in terms of advantage while also taking down our opponents. What can we really do with what we have? So let's show that off in the rest of the deck. For our grade 3s, we play 4 copies of Phantom Blaster Dragon and 1 for the right deck. It's really very simple. You just want to play more because, you know, it's a Persona Right. Persona Right is really cool and really good for this deck. You get your place again. It's just a good option to have the Persona Right around until we get PBO. Then maybe, you know, or maybe, yeah, you just straight up don't want this anymore. But as of this point in time, I still think it's pretty worth it to carry 4 copies of PBD. Unlike the other blasters, which are relatively put in contention as to whether you really want to carry more copies of them in your main deck, I would say PBD is the one where it's quite undisputed you do want more of. Moving on to our grade 2s, we play 4 copies of Blaster Duck. We play 4 copies of this guy too. He's brand new. So let's get into it. Blaster Duck, we've already explained, it's really quite simple. We are playing 4 copies of him for the 15k body as well as the utility. And this guy, he's brand new. He's literally come out really last minute. But his skill's really good, so I'm kind of sad they never covered it in COTD. Come on now. His skill is continuous during your turn as long as 2 or more cards have been retired on your side of the board due to the effect of your blasters. This unit gains 10k power. For free. You get that for free. So this guy is a little 20k beater as long as you just play your cards, which is not bad. You can't really use this skill on turn 2 unless you use 2 versions of Blaster Dark. But if you're using it on turn 3, just 1 PBD usage and you will always get this thing online, which is just such a blessing. PBD has really never had this level of good numbers. Like, our only good number before that was straight up just Blaster Dark. But you know, we now have a much more superior option who is free and is very affordable at a common rarity. So I'm not complaining whatsoever. I say this is a solid card to play in PBD, while others would tilt more towards how PBD has been playing before, which is, you know, gathering, you know, units on the board, then retiring them off. Right now I feel that we just have too much of that. So we can actually use that spots to specialize in other things, like either you want to play a blaster engine or you want to play stuff like this which focuses on more magic numbers. Although people still do want to play more of their, you know, filling more units on the board, which is fine, but that's not what I want to achieve with the Phantom Blaster Dragon deck. For our grade 1s, we play 1 copy of Blaster Javelin. For our right deck, we play 4 copies of Brana. We play 4 copies of Charon. we play 4 copies of this girl, and we play 4 copies of Armored Knight Mugen, and then we play 4 copies of our perfect cards. With the number of grade 1s we play in this deck, we may even put Luar to shame. But of course, I'm kidding. So, let's break it down. Blaster Javelin is for our right deck. We only just need 1 copy. I'll cover the PGs. We play the start deck PGs. Why are we playing the start deck PGs? Because they have 7k power. It's actually higher than your RPGs. Yes, go and take a look. The RPGs are 6k, this thing is 7k. So when you pour a lot of units on the board, you really just want units with higher power. And PBD is never going to reach a chance where, oh, you know, the special hand requirement is not going to matter, because if it does, you're probably dead by then. So straight up, just playing this is really no kick at all. I think even when they reprint the RPGs, I'm straight up going to not use them unless I feel like it. But if not, I really would prefer this in terms of the numbers, and you know, it's just a good card overall. It's still a PG. Next up, we have, I think I'll cover Brana next. Brana is someone you probably recognize from the first wave of PBD set 2, and is one of the few cards that actually has stayed, which says a lot. She's a 5k grade 1 with the skill, if this unit is retired for the skill of your Blaster Vanguard, is counted as 2 sacrifices instead of 1. Okay, that's really good, you know. It's like G Charon, or no. I think it was G Charon, if I'm not wrong. Let me know in the comment section below if you know who I'm referring to. But yeah, this is basically a 2-in-1 sacrifice, which is good. There's really no downside to this besides this, which is the 5k power. It's really bad, but it is still something. You know, if you really want to play this in premium, you could, because it's, you know, 5k. But honestly speaking, the 5k is the only downside this card really has to offer. Some people have suggested playing this at, you know, a 3 or 2. I'm still trying it at 4 because I still really value this card, but I think it's fine. Oh, my camera's glitching. Alright, next up on the list, we will cover another one of the cards that has stayed for quite a long time. This is, of course, Charon. Charon is a very simple skill. When placed on the rearguard circle, you rest this unit, you reveal the top card of your deck. You can superior call it if it's a normal unit. If not, you know, you just lose to the drop zone. But if you superior call a unit, that unit gets a skill, which is that at the end of the turn, you must retire it. So if it must be retired, then, you know, it's just a temporary +1. But if you use PBD, you can just sack it off and just lower your cost. The real only cost of this card is just resting this 7k body, which you may be like, oh, okay, that's not that bad. You know, 7k even when used is still fine. But in a rest position does kind of prevent us from abusing another card, which I will get to in just a bit. And that is one of the new best cards of PBD this wave. You will see her when you are packing your set 4 stuff, because she's a double rare. You may be wondering, oh, you know, she's quite attractive, but she looks like, you know, she's not played in a very good deck. And you're absolutely right. It's Armored Knight Mugen. She's a very simple skill. When placed on a rearguard circle, if your Vanguard is a blaster, discard 1, open the top 2 cards of your deck, superior call as many units as you can, the rest move to the drop zone. That's it. You don't even have Charon's little, you know, at the end of the turn you need to retire them. No, it straight up just stays on the board. You discard 1, you get a +2. It is our very own Dire Glass Sorceress, but Dire Glass requires a CB, and we can't really afford CB. So they made one without CB, but, you know, it is put at rest. So that means you can't really early rush. If you call it on turn 1, just pour bodies. They're all going to be sitting down for a turn, but that means they can participate on turn 2, which is okay. That's not bad. That's neat. We appreciate it. But then again, even if you don't want to pour on turn 1, you can still keep it for your later turns. As long as you use this card, discard 1, you straight up get 3 units on the board, which is more than enough for your Phantom Blaster Dragon. In the past, when this card was first revealed, I used to just use this on turn 1, because, you know, what's stopping me? Just do it, right? Or unless you're facing prison, of course, then just fold. But that's what I used to do until, you know, very recently we got the last great one we are playing instead, which is this girl. You may have seen her, you may have forgotten her, because you may not even know she was revealed. She's another card that came in the final wave of our reviews for set 4, including this guy, which is why most people going into this video who have not really paid attention to the reveals may not even know that PBD has gotten such great cards. Yes, I said the word great. The skill of this guy is very simple. As long as you have no other rear guards in the column as this unit gains 10k power. So if you remember my very long lecture on the columns from my Magnolia Set 2 deck profile, I'll leave it in the comment section below. Yes, this thing also checks your opponent's side. So you may be wondering, why is PBD now playing like Magnolia? Hang on, this thing is actually really good because it's an 8k body that gets 10k for free as long as you don't overcommit and you set your opponent's side. Or better yet, you can use this as an early aggression tool. It's an 18k body. It's just that good. I don't want to say this card will be used in premium because I don't know that much in terms of the amount of toolboxing space you have in Shadow Premium, especially because you have so many good cards already. I don't know if this is actually viable, but I would say this is one of the few D cards out there that could be used because I just really like the early rush potential of this. But then again, what do I know? I don't really play much of Shadows Premium, but this is just a really cool card, especially in stuff like D. And this is one of the only decks that can actually abuse that because we can actually spot remove, whereas Bastion doesn't really do that unless you play the very weak Control Bastion, as well as Hexor, unless you play the very weak Control Hexor. Moving on to our triggers and grade zeros, we play a copy of Full Bar, and then we play 4 heals. We obviously play 4 heals. We play 1 OT. We play the SD OT because, very honestly, we just won 100 million. We play 3 draw because we can't afford the rare draws, but if you want to, it's fine. And we play 8 crits. We don't really care about the soul crits because, very honestly, we don't want soul. We want corpses, and these are 5k bodies. They are stronger corpses, which are just intrinsically better to this deck. Before I do end this section though, I do want to say, if you're playing PBD, you need to play 3 draws. It's an absolute mandatory section. You can't skip. Even if you can't afford the other draws, the start deck has 1, the first booster set has 1, you should pick them up at any cost possible. And yes, that wraps it up for our PBD deck profile for set 4. It's a very, very weird way to end the year for the Abyss because we started off as the worst deck in format, and right now I personally think that's really not the case anymore. As you can see, some choices were made. You were saying, oh my goodness, it's a budget deck. Boo. Okay, you can say it's a budget deck because generally speaking, the cards in this deck are pretty cheap. Yes. But that does not mean or disqualify by any chance as it actually being a viable or playable deck. In the light of our incoming Seraph Overlords, I like to say that we are no match for you and we will concede if we fight you. But I would say in terms of everyone else, you do actually have a relatively good fighting shot. So don't actually look down on this deck. In fact, I would say this deck is actually a pretty cool rogue deck if you can actually learn and tweak the deck to your ratios. These ratios are really preferences of my own, but if you really prefer other ratios for other options, you can definitely do that. There are enough cards in the Keter pool right now to actually experiment with PBD, and I just really enjoy it. I think that's good considering the fact that in like 2 sets ago, PBD barely had enough to make a skeleton. Who knows, maybe once we get PBO and DOTE, things will really change once and for all. Thank you all so much for watching, and as I said in the intro, we are getting to more Dbt04 deck profiles. Leave a comment in the comment section below if there's any deck you actually want to see from set 4, and make sure it's not Seraph. Thank you, I'll see you all next time. Stay safe, goodbye.